So another championship weekend has been concluded, which means it's time for my championship review on what happened in matchday 16. It was a weekend full of very unpredictable results. In terms of my score predictions, 0 again. I'm in my worst ever form in terms of my predictions. Yeah, I'm not pleased about it, I'm glad. I've got a break now to refresh my mind and potentially go on a fantastic run after the international break ends. And in fact, none of you guys managed to get a correct score prediction either. For one channel I will shout out though, I'm going to shout out Joshua Jones. He managed to correctly predict that Bristol City were going to beat Cardiff. The reason why I'm putting that out there, even though he didn't get the correct score, he predicted that Bristol City were going to win away from Cardiff for the first time since 2002. So that is quite a brave prediction from Joshua. So he is going to be the one rewarded today. You won't be in the Hall of Fame because it's not a correct score, but you're the channel I'm going to be shouting out this weekend. Well done, Joshua. So without any further ado, we've got a lot to go through today. Let's go through what went on in matchday 16. So we start off with the East Midlands derby. Nottingham Forest versus Derby. It did not disappoint. It ended as a very narrow 1-0 victory to Nottingham Forest. I watched it live and the atmosphere was absolutely immense. It was electric. It got the feels of the derby. And what I didn't mention in my last video, when Nottingham Forest beat Derby by 3-0, it was a Carabao Cup game and both sides were practically playing their B-side. So my analysis in that wasn't necessarily going to reflect on the outcome, even though it kind of did. I felt in the first half it was pretty even and I felt Derby actually had the better chances. Samba had to be tested quite a few times in goal. In the second half though, Nottingham Forest were completely transformed. Eventually they got the breakthrough from Jayden Bogle, which I can only describe as a really terrible mistake. He would never let it down and Lewis Grabban said thank you very much and simply scored it. It was a really poor mistake from Bogle and one I have no doubt he will recover, but in terms of analysing Derby's play, it does have a lot of potential actually. I've seen a lot of good interchanging movements in Derby. I've seen a lot more improvement and understanding in their midfield between Bielik and Shinnie. But the thing is, sometimes their passing can be a little bit sloppy and at times they can just give the ball away very, very cheaply. With Nottingham Forest, I knew they weren't going to expect to have lots of the ball. They're playing in a way that's not very possession-based, but it's more based on the counter. And it didn't really affect Derby too much, actually. Derby, to be fair to them, since going behind, I thought were probably on a level ground with Forest. And it wasn't until Waghorn came on when I thought Derby could have had a chance to equalise, but they didn't in the end. Forest got a very good victory. It now sees them in the playoffs as it stands. With Derby, their slow start to the season still continues and they're going to have to start addressing a few things and maybe they can't wait till January when they get Wayne Rooney. So the first midweek game, Preston Huddersfield, this ended as a 3-1 home victory to Preston North End. A game that I was in severe doubt if Preston were going to continue their fantastic home form. Wow, I watched the highlights and Preston played with a lot of positivity and with a load of pace actually. They really used Barkhuizen, providing a lot of energy down the wings. They managed to go ahead very quickly following a free kick from Paul Gallagher, which was nicely struck but it hit the post. But Jaden Stockley had the simplest task of poking the ball through in the end. It was a tap-in. Preston went 2-0 up where Barkhuizen managed to get a lovely looping cross for Alan Brown. He managed to strike it well and he got in. Grabber did get a hand on it, but it was too powerful for him to keep out. And then by the second half, Preston were still continuing their pressure and they won a penalty. They are turning out to be penalty North End at the moment. 8 penalties now, I think they've definitely won the most in the championship. This one, I do agree, it was a blatant handball by Terence Congolo. And then Paul Gallagher, with his trademark penalty, managed to score and it made it 3-0. Huddersfield did get a consolation. To be fair, when they were 3-0 down, I think Preston did put their foot off the gas a little bit and Huddersfield started to grow into the game again. Bakuna managed to score Huddersfield's only goal in the game. It was a nice individual effort from him, shooting from just outside the box. I think with Huddersfield, I was a little bit disappointed in how vulnerable they were defensively. They looked a little bit scared of Preston going forward and they really struggled to get any sort of control in the game until they were 3-0 down. But for Preston, they'll take this win all day. They're currently second place in the championship. What is going on? You'd love to see it, definitely. Sheffield Wednesday and Swansea was a very entertaining game, ended as a 2-2 draw in the end. Swansea were ahead against the run of play, to be fair. When I saw the highlights, Sheffield Wednesday were rampant in the first few minutes. I was surprised that they didn't manage to take any of their chances. Woodman had a terrific performance in goal. IU managed to go ahead, which I can only describe. Westwood made a really poor mistake. Lee Camp did a very similar thing again this weekend, which I'll go on to in a minute. He tried to catch the ball but then spilled it, and then IU managed to poke it through the net. Afterwards, Sheffield Wednesday had a terrific comeback for what it looked like. Fletcher originally was unlucky not to equalise. He had a good chance, but it came off the left side of the post. Forestieri eventually equalised for Sheffield Wednesday after some poor marking from Swansea. And I thought Fox would have won it for Sheffield Wednesday in the 91st minute. But it turns out Ben Wilmore, the man in form, managed to find enough time to scrape an equaliser. It was absolutely madness, and Swansea's terrific away run continues. They're still undefeated away from home. I think Sheffield Wednesday will feel very disappointed they didn't get all 3 points in this game, especially as they let Swansea equalise that late into the game. With Swansea, it wasn't their most convincing performance, but it was a very gutsy performance, and I think they'll take a point. Another 2-2 draw happened at the Kieran Prince Stadium, with Queen's Park Rangers and Middlesbrough getting a 2-2 draw, and for me, it was a really entertaining game as well. Middlesbrough took the lead through Britta Sombalonga. It was probably the best play I've seen from Middlesbrough for quite some time, really moving the ball with a very fast tempo, and Sombalonga managing to poke it past Lumley in goal. Randolph was doing all he can to keep Queen's Park Rangers out, but he could not resist. Queen's Park Rangers were absolutely rampant since going behind. Naki Wells managed to equalise very quickly. It was a very typical Queen's Park Rangers goal. I couldn't count the amount of passes for when Naki Wells scored. It was about at least 10 in the build-up. It was absolutely terrific. And then Queen's Park Rangers go ahead just before half-time in very unfortunate circumstances for Middlesbrough's perspective. Grant Hall managed to do a fantastic header, but it came off Howson, and then that managed to wrong-foot Randolph. And unfortunately for Middlesbrough, they were 2-1 down. But to be fair to them, they kept in the game. They stopped Queen's Park Rangers from extending their lead. Randolph had a terrific second half performance. They may be a bit fortunate how they got their second goal. I can only describe Naki Wells did a terrible back pass, and Sombalonga managed to collect it, and then being clinical, chipped over Lumley and scored. Made it look really, really easy when it's not. Queen's Park Rangers will feel very hard done by. They didn't get all 3 points. Randolph had a fantastic performance, even though he's not 100% fit at the moment. But also from that back pass from Wells, that cost them all 3 points. With Middlesbrough, they'll take a point, but there were passages where I feel like they should have been more clinical. They should have taken their chances just a little bit more, but they need to dominate the game more, get more possession even. And I think if they could do that, this style can work. They're just not getting the ball enough, and they're not controlling the game as they have been. Fulham managed to go back to winning ways, gain a 1-0 away victory against Birmingham. A very tight game, I think. Birmingham did have a couple of chances in the first half. Mitrovic thought he should have scored in the first half, but his goal was ruled out for offside. Mitrovic eventually did score, and as I said, Lee Camp had a complete howler, failing to catch the ball, spilled to Mitrovic, and he poked it through. As I said, Birmingham did have chances, but it wasn't a typical Birmingham home performance. They did not look as threatening, they did not look as clinical, they did not look as frightening as they were going forward. And Fulham looked very, very comfortable playing their possession-styled football, and they didn't seem too phased about Birmingham, which for me was the most disappointing part of it. I thought Birmingham were going to show a little bit more fight following Fulham's pretty poor run of form, but Fulham got a win at exactly the right time. It's an international break now, they're ending it on a high, so if we've got some positives to reflect on, they know that they should be performing better than this. But they're only just outside the playoffs, and they can string a few good wins together after the international break. They'll be in contention again, so it's not the end of the world for them. And what a result at Oakwell. Wow, a 6-goal thriller and 4 goals scored by Stoke City. Absolute scenes. It was Michael O'Neill's first game as manager as well. Following Michael O'Neill's, I recorded my score predictions literally an hour before all the news story about Michael O'Neill not only being confirmed as Stoke's new manager, but he'll also be taking the charge against Barnsley. If I knew that, I probably would have changed my prediction. But it all happened so quickly, and I actually respect Stoke for getting this process done so quickly. And I also respect the fact that O'Neill's still doing his role in Northern Ireland as well. Barnsley were in the back foot completely by a terrible goal kick by Collins. It was poor from him. It's harsh on him because he's had a good season so far, but it went straight for Sam Klukas. But what a goal it came from it. He scored on the halfway line. It was absolutely unbelievable. Perfect technique. Perfect. Stoke then got 2-0 up after Mowatt conceded a penalty. Lee Gregory managed to score, a player who I thought was really quiet so far this season. Hopefully, maybe under Michael O'Neill, we'll see Lee Gregory influencing the game a little bit more. Barnsley then managed to get back into it in the second half. Really bright start for them. In fact, probably their best player football throughout that whole entire match. They were playing a lot of passes together, and McGeehan managed to put Barnsley only 2-1 down. Stoke, however, were in dreamland when Joe Allen managed to score following a corner, and then Barnsley managed to get 4-1 up with Kluka scoring another belter from outside the box. Terrific technique in his shot as well. He had a stunning game. Then Barnsley got another goal. For what I can only describe, it was a really poor defensive display from Stoke. It was literally one long ball and Schmidt managed to score. So Michael O'Neill hasn't fixed Stoke completely. I'm still worried about them defensively. The fact that long looping balls had managed to cut them out so easily. But I think with Michael O'Neill, I think he can implement a long-term project into Stoke. And for what I saw, it had a very positive effect on Stoke. They played really well. With Barnsley, I was really disappointed that they didn't manage to take an opportunity in this game. I thought being at home and at Oakwell as well, they're going to be really threatening, but once again, defensively, they don't look drilled. They really don't. Attacking-wise, they did manage to score 2 goals, albeit their first goal does deserve credit. It was a fantastically worked goal. The second one was a bit fortunate with poor defending from Stoke. But they need more. They need to control games more, and Stoke ultimately just felt too comfortable. But with Stoke, this now lifts them off the foot of the table, and hopefully for them, maybe they can get a really good run of form under Michael O'Neill after the international break. Could be some exciting times to be a Stoke fan. Another result I did not expect was Wigan being blown out the park by Brentford by 3-0. Brentford were absolutely terrific in this game. And I honestly thought Wigan were going to have a lot more control, a lot more threat being at home at the DW, because against Swansea, they were absolutely terrific at the DW. This was completely night and day, and it's those kind of inconsistencies that really puzzle me, which is why I've probably not given Wigan a lot of confidence at the start of the season following my championship predictions. Brentford went ahead very quickly from Mbumbio. It was unfortunate for Marshall because he did make a fantastic save, but he couldn't hold the ball, and eventually it fell to Mbumbio and just simply tapped it in. Brentford's second was terrific. It was a terrific strike from Mojito. And then their third goal, wow. Josh Da Silva, take a bow. Literally from outside the box, pinged a shot, top left corner. No keeper would be saving it. This was probably helped after Kip managed to get sent off for Wigan after getting the second yellow card for where he completely lunged on Ollie Watkins. It was a really silly challenge from him. In the end of the game, it did end in a bit of a scrap after Geldhard managed to get a very nasty collision. This resulted in the scrap, and then Janvier for Brentford managed to get sent off in the process. A very feisty game, like I said in my score predictions, and I think this will be a really feisty game in my opinion. Not the correct score, but a very entertaining game as well, and Brentford were just absolutely outstanding. Wigan, though, they need to improve. If they have a similar run of form after the international break, I say there'll need to be some questions on Paul Cook, I'm afraid. Hull and West Brom managed to end in a 1-0 away victory to West Brom. A game where I felt West Brom were really comfortable. Hull did have quite a few chances, but to be fair to them, West Brom didn't look like they were going to take their foot off the gas at any point. They looked really comfortable. There wasn't like any moment in the game where I felt any panic watching West Brom. They took the lead after Jake Livermore, which was from a short corner, which has been a way that they've actually scored goals so far. Their short corners have been really effective for them so far, and Jake Livermore managed to score a belter from 20 yards out. Hull probably should have scored with the chance that they had. They did have one goal that was disallowed from Bowen, which was offside. I think it was offside. I think it was the right decision. The thing is with Hull, I think they just did not control the game as much as they needed to. West Brom really used their players' strengths to advantages. They felt like they probably should have scored more, but in the end of the day, a win is a win, and West Brom would take this win all day long. With Hull, though, they've not completely resolved. They were the team in form with 3 wins in a row, but now they've extended in a defeat, so it's not quite as exciting as everyone's made it out to be. But I do believe in that squad. There's a lot of quality, and I do believe in Grant McCann as a manager for the Championship as well. I think he's done a terrific job so far. So the South London derby between Millwall and Charlton ended as a very dramatic 2-1 home victory to Millwall. A showstopper for what I can only describe in this game. A game very dominated by set pieces, as you'd expect from Millwall's perspective. Millwall scored, guess what, from a set piece. From a free kick taken by Williams, and Sean Hutchinson managed to head it in. Charlton did have a few chances to get back into it. Cullen was really unlucky not to score. Bilkowski made a very awkward save from a shot from about 20 yards out. It came off the crossbar and was inches away from bouncing over the line, with it being a goal. Charlton did eventually go ahead from Jonathan Lecco. He was in a genius position from a corner. No one marking him, smashed it through the net. I thought Charlton was going to hold on for a draw because I thought Millwall was slightly on top of Charlton. But in stoppage time, Matt Smith, in corners, he is just a threat. He rose above everyone and nodded the ball home. Millwall were absolutely ballistic, but they were devastating in those set pieces. With Charlton, though, they seemed a little bit weak in those set pieces. They didn't seem like that they were able to deal with them as comfortably as I've seen them play in the past. I was also a little bit disappointed that there wasn't as much attacking threat from Charlton either. So yeah, Charlton find themselves in a really patchy run of form. Millwall also find themselves in a bit of a patchy run of form right now, but Gary Rowett, he's had a fantastic start as Mill manager. 2 wins and a loss. I think he would have taken that all day. With Charlton, I think they will recover. They've got a lot of quality, and hopefully after the international break for them, Lyle Taylor returns fit for them, because I think he's a terrific miss in that whole entire squad. As much as Macaulay Bonner's already done, he's just not Lyle Taylor in the end of the day. Reading continued to do wonders under Mark Bowen, getting a 3-0 home victory against Luton, and Luton Town, they are slumping very, very quickly. They've lost 4 games in a row now, and they need to fix this form after the international break. Luton did start really positively, actually. McManaman had a really good chance, which was really well saved by Cabral. But Reading managed to take the lead following a corner where Michael Morrison managed to head the ball in. Their second was from Ovie Ejaria. He's just a magician on the pitch. Honestly, every time I see him in the ball, no other player can get near him. It's like no one can tackle him. But he scored a really nice solo goal. But Luton's poor form was summed up by Sheehan, who was dispossessed very cheaply in the midfield by McGleary, who then put himself one-on-one and managed to score. I am a little bit concerned with Luton at the moment. They did have chances, but they've not looked as clinical as they have done in the beginning of the season. But also, defensively, they've just not looked like that they are improving at all. In fact, if anything, they're getting worse. They're conceding a lot of goals in so many games now. But Mark Bowen is proving to be a miracle worker at Reading at the moment. What an unbelievable turn of events he's put with Reading. If he continues this run of form, the opportunities could be endless for Reading at this rate. With Luton, they need to improve fast and get a really good string of games going, because if they don't, they could find themselves in danger, in my opinion. The penultimate game ended as a 2-1 home victory to Leeds. A game that we all kind of expected. Leeds had majority of the possession. It was just a question how many Leeds were going to score. And at one point, they were 2-0 up. Patrick Bamford managed to end his goal drought finally. He hadn't scored since August against Nottingham Forest. That is 14 competitive games ago. That is absolutely madness. But he scored the penalty. It was a really nice penalty. He sent Walton the wrong way. Jack Harrison managed to make it 2-0 to Leeds at one point. A terrific play down on the left. A lot of passing as well. With Jack Harrison eventually managing to get so much space and driving a comfortable shot past Walton. Leeds did, however, concede a really cheap goal. Very un-Leeds-like from a corner. And Derek Williams managed to nod it home. Casilla thought probably could have done a little bit better with that also. So for the rest of the game, it felt a little bit tense because Blackburn only needed 1 goal to get back into the game. But Leeds proved that they could prove defensively resilient as well. It was a shame for Leeds that they couldn't score more to make it more comfortable for them. But it turned out scoring 2 goals was the key in this game. And if they can continue this and if they can score even more goals, but especially if they can continue their defensive shift, Leeds will definitely go a long way. With Blackburn, I thought they had a tiny bit of a spirited performance against Leeds. Losing away at home to Ellen Road is no disgrace. Even that, they made it a close game than they expected. But Blackburn didn't have many chances. For me, they do have quality. They need to get this game out of the way. reset, and go again after the international break. If it's a slow start, I say Middlesbrough will be in danger. But if it's a good start, like Reading, I'd say the opportunities could be endless. And the final game was the seven-side derby, where Bristol City won by 1-0. I was so tempted to say Bristol City had it within them, but was I going to predict Bristol City, who'd never beaten Cardiff away from home since 2002? No, I wouldn't have. And Cardiff at that time had unbeaten home record as well, so I wasn't going against that either, but I was backing that Bristol City were going to get something from this game, but not all 3 points though. That was absolutely outstanding. Cardiff started as I expected, a little bit of control. Hoyle was unlucky he didn't score, his effort crashing against a crossbar following a deflection. Cardiff continued to probe. Bristol City weren't really in the game, but Bristol City's first big attack ended with Josh Brownhill with a lot of space from 25 yards out, shooting it right in the top right corner. Do I think Leverage could have saved it? It's debatable. Some people were saying he should have saved it. For me, I felt it was way too powerful for him, but maybe of his quality, he probably could have done a little bit better with it. But what has improved from Bristol City compared to Barnsley was their game management. When they went ahead, they didn't allow Cardiff to get back into it. And that was being the one element that they've been lacking this whole entire season. But it came at the right time to beat their seven-side rivals in Cardiff City. I was pleased to see the return of Adam Nagy. I was actually really impressed by his contribution to the team. And overall, Bristol City now do find themselves returning into the playoffs. If they can continue this, and if their players start returning from injury, and they can play with a lot of positivity, and can have better management and be defensively solid, I say Bristol City would definitely be one of the favourites to get in the top 6. With Cardiff, I do think that they might be underperforming slightly, but the thing is, they're playing exactly how I've expected them. I've seen them in the Premier League last year, and they're not playing that much different in my eyes. But likewise with the Premier League, every championship season, the teams get more competitive, and they get stronger, and they get better. And the thing is with Cardiff, even though they did brought a few players in, there's not been much improvement. I wouldn't say it's any worse, but it's definitely not any better. And if results don't improve after the international break, Warnock, I think, will be another manager who's in danger for the sack. It'll be madness because he's got the most championship clubs promoted ever, but you may feel that maybe at his young age of 72, his time could be starting to wear out. So to conclude, my goal of the weekend, I'm going to give it to Sam Clucas against Barnsley. Terrific. I could have even included his second goal. And Josh De Silva's goal against Wigan is a close second. But for me, from the halfway line, the perfect technique, just sheer class from Sam Clucas. So he'll get my goal of the weekend. Result of the weekend, I'm going to stick with Barnsley against Stoke. Stoke gained a 4-2 away victory. They had to win this game and they won it. So my result of the weekend goes to Stoke. With Player of the Weekend has been difficult. There's a few nominations from this. I could include Sam Clucas with 2 potential Goal of the Weekend nominations, but I'm going to give it to Britta Sombalonga. Without him, Middlesbrough would not have been able to get a point against Queen's Park Rangers, and it could be a more important point than some people may suggest. So I'm going to give my Player of the Weekend to Britta Sombalonga. But that will wrap it up for my championship review. If you guys like what you see, please make sure you give the video a like and a share. All of that would be tremendously appreciated. Make sure you do subscribe for the channel to see some regular championship content. We do, however, now have a painful international break to go through. I do have a few video ideas I've planned. Whether I'll upload them in time, I don't know. Uni work is still madness. I'm doing the best that I can to do both right now. I could also get a part-time job very soon as well. That's going to make things a little bit complicated also, but I'll try my best. But now I'll wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, to conclude an extravagant weekend of football, take care.